The defeat at Palace was harsh. You deserved more. You played some excellent football. You gave them a few chances, and you scored a really good goal. But unfortunately, we conceded two, and I'm sure you're as frustrated as the players and the fans. But there are lots of positives that should help keep your confidence high. Looking forward to the return to the league match against Blackpool.
Yeah, I think so. Like, our confidence, we have to, it has to remain high. You can always look at the game and the result. It's always there to, I suppose, dent confidence. And we're in a challenging period at this minute in time. There's no doubt about that. And the only way we can do that is to continue to believe in the team and the level of performance, and just consistently try and repeat that. And the nature of the goals we lost was disappointing. I don't think there were any particular errors, but just to concede off, two corners at crucial moments in the game was very disappointing, given how well we'd played, and obviously the goal that we scored ourselves. And I suppose if you look at the goal, Jack it's a good punch, but the lad does well. It lands at his feet, and it's a strong finish. And Jack Butland has a punch, and Liam clips it back into the goal, and their defender heads it off the line. Those are the margins between winning and losing a game, really. But no, the players have been good this week. They've come back in. They're refreshed, and they're ready to play tomorrow.
Well, you've got Blackpool at home before a run of three away games. I'm not sure whether you prefer to play away these days, given the results are much better away from home. But it was a hard-fought and hard-earned win in November with Stephen Fletcher getting the goal. They've had some good results. The last one was 4-1 at home against Reading. And they're a point above Stoke in the league. It'll be really nice to get a winning run started tomorrow.
Oh, totally. Yeah. We're under no illusions what we need to do, and we need to start winning games again. And, Blackpool have had an excellent season. They would have came into the league with, their intention would have been to survive, I think, that as a promoted team. And they've exceeded that, to be honest. I think, they're a very hard-working side, good manager, well-organised team, and, it'll be a test. But, we have to be ready to deal with that. We have to, impose ourselves on the game. They will try and disrupt the game. I think it's almost like 4-4-2 they play, being consistent with how they played that this season. And they're a team, I think, individually, the players have something to prove. For many of them, it's probably, their first time in the championship, and they're enjoying the experience. So we got to be ready to play a team that's in a positive place, and we will be.
Well, your desire to win was evident at Crystal Palace. I mean, Patrick Vieira mentioned that Stoke probably wanted it more, which may be evident given that we were the championship team. But you could do with a win, even an ugly 1-0 win off somebody's backside to ease the frustrations that everybody's feeling. When you were the international manager, you had a difficult run at times, particularly at the start. Has that helped you to cope with the inability to hang on to leads and the frustrations that everybody is feeling?
Yeah, it probably has. That period when I went into Northern Ireland was, it wasn't dissimilar really, in a sense that the international team was in a particularly bad place. I think had dropped as low to 100th in the world, and had been on a really bad run, and players were a little bit disillusioned, and had not a great, international football had been a little bit of a negative experience for them in recent seasons. And the first campaign was very difficult. We had some very difficult games in there against Russia and Portugal, but we came through those games, and we had some poor defeats as well. But, over that period, there was quite a lot of turnaround as well. A lot of players, it was the end of their international careers, and the key players got refocused and started to value their international careers. And then we went on a run that took us to 20th in the world, and obviously Euro 2016, and subsequently, a playoff for the World Cup and a playoff for Euro 2020 or Euro 2021 as it became. So yeah, like, I'm used to this period. I knew that when I came in here that I wasn't probably going to turn things around as quickly. It's a little bit more difficult because player contracts come into the equation then. And probably I was misjudged the squad a little bit. I probably felt that the squad was better than it actually was when I came to the club. And as you can see now, there's only a handful of players left from that original 28 that I think I inherited when I came in here on the first day.
Do you see the shift to the back three as a long-term thing, or is it horses for courses?
No, I think it's horses for courses. I think you have to be prepared to fluctuate between systems. I think we get too bogged down in systems. It's more about players and how they're playing. I think that when we played three at the back earlier in the season, and after we beat West Brom, everyone was salivating over the system. And then when maybe it's not going your way, the system seems to be the problem. I think the 4-3-3, we've played some very good football, but we've drawn games that we should have won as well. But I think you've got to be prepared to do both, and you've got to be prepared to possibly be able to change in game as well, which is what we have done. It's quite straightforward for us now to go from a back three to a back four. And I don't really get bogged down with that. I look at what we feel player-wise and where the players are and fit a system around them that can help us win the game.
I mean, 14 of the 15 defeats have been by an odd goal, so that shows you how tight the margins are between success and failure, really.
Yeah, look, we've been in every game this season. There's not been many that we've walked away from and thought, well, we didn't deserve to try and take something from that game, but we haven't. So we have to be honest with ourselves as well, and we have to look at why that's the case. And that 15 defeats is too many, and we have to make sure that we limit that as much as possible between now and the end of the season.
Is there any injury positive news on people?
Well, everyone's available other than Harry, and unfortunately Morgan Fox got a little ankle injury yesterday, but Morgan will be suspended anyway. So, and the news on that was positive today. Sima will play again in the 2023s, excuse me, on Wednesday. And as we build up his match fitness, he played 45 minutes at Sunderland, but he still needs some minutes under his belt before we can start to look at him realistically as a player that could affect the first team.
Well, the next 3 points are always the most important 3 points to get. But when you look at the team, and we've talked about the tight margins, you're so close to being a very, very, very good football team. I said too many verys there, but you know what I mean. Do you think it's just a lack of the winning mentality, a killer instinct? What do you think? Could you put your finger on what it is?
I think it's probably a combination of a number of things, to be honest. I think that, like, when we look at, there's been a lot of games where we've had opportunities to go on and get, maybe a second goal and be a little bit more comfortable. We lost a 3-0 lead against Cardiff at home, where I think that did hurt us confidence-wise. I think in the players that did do a little bit of damage to us. But look, we have to get over that. We're all professionals in here. We have to be ready to play and be ready to win. And the players are very frustrated, I think, with some of the points. Well, a number of the points that they've dropped, and they feel they should be in a much better position than we are in the league. But we have to accept that we are where we are at this minute in time. And the most important thing is what lies ahead between now and the end of the season, and making sure that the next. I think it's 14 games we have are whereas competitive as possible, and we take as many points as we can from those games.
Well, I know that I'm hoping you'll agree with this. Winners are people who never quit, and it's looking like we're going to have the highest attendance of the seasons so far on this Saturday. So it'd be a good time to get back to winning ways.
Definitely, I think earlier in the season, I think our home form was terrific. And we played some excellent football, and we've had a period where our home form has not been where we would like it to be. And as you say, a big home crowd will help us, and we've got to give them something to get excited about, because we need the fans behind us. And probably in recent weeks it's been a little bit more difficult for us to play at home, and we have to make sure that we have a responsibility that the fans like what they're seeing, and that they get behind the team.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ange. George, now you're unmuted, so off you go.
Michael, obviously continuity has been one of the major factors, I imagine, in the way this season has panned out for you in more ways than one. Has that been a big factor, because you haven't had everybody at your disposal it's every single time?
Look, we had a real difficult period where we had a lot of injuries. You know, we're probably at our strongest point in the season now. The squad is availability of players and depth to the squad, given the changes that we made, I think, in January as well. I think the squad's as strong as it's been at any point this season, which is probably a little bit unusual given, but we had a period obviously where we had, I think, up to maybe 12, 13 players out, and 5 or 6 of them were pretty much, 5 or 6 of our strongest players, I would say, in terms of starting players. So those are all things we've had to deal with. I don't think, I can't really comment on what other clubs have had to deal with. I'm sure some clubs have had very similar situations. In a 46-game season, you're always going to have to deal with that inconsistency of availability. So the important thing is that the players stay fit and healthy between now and the end of the season.
With that in mind, then, as you've already said, apart from a couple of players, you've got obviously a good selection to choose from. Do you look at that now when you face Blackpool and want to put out your strongest side, or do you look to match the opposition in terms of what they might provide?
No, we'll pick a team. We'll pick a team based on ourselves. We've never really picked a team based on the opposition. Possibly only when we've played Premier League teams in the cup competitions have we done that. We played the best team in the league in Fulham here, and we went toe to toe with them with an attacking approach, and so we don't pick a team in that way to try based on what the opposition do. I think what we have to look at is when you have options, which we have at this minute in time, is where the players are, how much football they've played, up until this point in the season. Have we got the ability to rotate? Will that, you're always a little bit concerned when you freshen it up, whether those players can come in, will play at the level that you hope they can or are capable of. But they need to be able to do that. You see, the top teams, in the Premier League who are playing, in 3 and 4 competitions, making 5, 6, 7 changes. And that shows the strength and quality of their squad, and they're able to then, those players are able to come in and perform. They may only come in for 1 game or 2, but they're still able to perform, and those are the demands that we try to put on the players here as well.
You already touched on Blackpool, saying that the promotion side, and they've really adapted to the league, haven't they? And at stages they were in challenging positions, but at the moment they look to be certainly in a safety position, so they will provide a real threat, won't they?
Yeah, they've done very well. They've adapted very well to coming into the league. They've got some good young players. They've got a hungry squad, a hungry group of players that are clearly enjoying being in the Championship. And in this league, your attitude and your togetherness is a big part of being able to be successful. And I think they have demonstrated that season. They're probably exceeding where they maybe thought they would be, and they've probably believe now that they can go on and finish the season strongly as well. So we've got to match that. I don't think there's very few times that I think I would question the attitude of the team in this season. I think we have a good attitude ourselves in this building. We have a few frustrations with the season we've had, but we'll be more than ready to adapt and play to the intensity that Blackpool will want to play, and it's about us imposing ourselves on the opposition.
We're moving into the final quarter of the season, Michael. It's important you start to get some consistency in results and winning results, isn't it? Because you've held leads for so long in so many matches that then be caught at the death. That's a frustration, but it's important you get a run going now, isn't it?
Well, look, I think it's important you win games at any point in the season, but certainly, we're coming off a challenging period where we've obviously lost some games and we've been knocked out of the league. And we drew some games as well, which we should have won given the nature of how the game went. But that's in the past, and what we have now is the games that are ahead of us. And the clear message to the players has been, look, we need to win as many as possible. So that's clearly the objective.
You can feed off the crowd, and you've done it many, many times. And certainly with the situation tomorrow, with possibly a full house tomorrow, you can certainly feed off that, and so can the players, can't they?
look, players always want to play. We've played for 15 months in empty stadiums, so we want to be play. It's nice to be back, and this season's been great playing in front of fans again. But like all teams, you want your home fans behind you, and we have a responsibility to make sure that our level of performance is such that the fans are behind us, and that's something we all have to take responsibility for. So yeah, it'd be great that there is a good big crowd there tomorrow, and as I say, that'll hopefully give us the motivation to put on the type of performance that we know we're capable of.
Thank you, Michael. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, George. Dave, anything from you before we move on to Pete, please?
Yeah, hi. You mentioned the 13 games left, and they're not exactly the most. It's not the most easiest of run-ins. After sort of like looking at some of these teams, you've got obviously quite a lot of the teams who are going for the playoffs. You've got Sheffield United, you've got Blackburn, Queen's Park Rangers, Middlesbrough, and Coventry finishing off with all those. So it's not going to be an easy run-in, is it?
Well, we have to play those teams anyway, at some point in the season. So I don't really look at it like that, to be honest. We look at the games, and I think we've had fixtures rescheduled, which means we have 3 away games in a row, for example, which is a little bit challenging. But look, the running's the running. I don't think that the nature of this league is such that anyone seems to be capable of taking points off anyone else. So we're not that concerned about what the running looks like. The most important thing is that we approach it in the right frame of mind, and we will do that.